What we need to do is pick a chair now, huh? We'll have to do that. I don't think we.
No, we don't have food.
Yep. We'll have to do that eventually.
Do we do it, put it on the agenda for the next time? Do we do it now? Or do we wait till vacant positions are filled?
We'll have to have it on the agenda.
Okay.
So as soon as we don't have it, I think somebody wants to take point, you're more than welcome to. Give it a shot. If we don't have it now, we'll just make a recommendation to have it on next time, I guess. So, that said, I'll go ahead and call this to order, I guess. So, meeting called to order by myself, Logan, at 5:44 p.m. Carolyn Harris?
Present.
Rachel? Did I say it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Present.
Alright, cool. That's what I did. Delay. Linda?
Present for me.
Make it? Make it? Just kidding. Dad joke. Working on my dad jokes. Okay, Joni is absent.
Absent, she said she was in a meeting and she'll be late. but-
Okay. So we'll change that if she shows up in time.
Yes.
And then Matthew is excused. I am present. And I apologize, but there's a text here from somebody from the animal shelter, so I want to make sure nothing's. Fill you guys in. One of the gals at the animal shelter stopped to drop some cats off, and one of the little chihuahuas is missing, so she's asking if I have access to the cameras. See if help them locate it. She told her to call Matt since he's out right now. So okay. So call to the public. It's time for public comment. Anybody want to say anything? Anybody? No. Okay. Moving on. Approval of action agenda. Approval of the minutes of the special session of the Evergreen Cemetery Committee meeting held on February 2nd, 2023. Has it been that long since we met last time?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, that is not. This one or right on this one? Do you have a motion to approve the action agenda from February 2nd, 2023?
I move that we approve the minutes of the special session of the Evergreen Cemetery Committee meeting held on February 2nd, 2020.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Carolyn, is that you? Linda. Okay. So first thing for business, review of financials. You guys have that sheet in front of you. Smart ladies. So cemetery. You guys have any questions on that? Do you understand what you're looking at? You need to explain it a little?
A couple questions, but I'll just let you explain and then maybe that will answer my questions.
Okay. Budgeted. That's the third row. That's what we have in the account, unexpended. That's what we haven't spent from it yet. So, I mean, that's basically, and we go off the budget from the last year, so what they're building off of, if we need to adjust, add more or whatnot. So, I don't think he did too much as far as changing that goes.
And the city council comes up with this budget?
Yes. Yep. Well, they approve the budget. We generally come up with it, and then it gets tweaked and then approved.
Okay.
Okay. So the garbage service, DOC workers, 3,000, take care of that. Postage. So, for example, like disposable equipment and tools shows budgeted 200, and we have unexpended 119. So we've only spent $80.95. Operational expenses, 1,200, and then we only spent 474. So we've got roughly a little less than 700 in there. And then general fund internal services.
Okay, that's general.
So, total cemetery budget, 2642. This reminds me of, were you guys ever familiar, there was some kind of fund for the cemetery, the Evergreen, like, somebody mentioned it, I thought it was one of you guys, it might have been Joni. No.
We
Was
used
it
to
you?
have 5,000.
Used to?
Well, and I don't know why it would have changed.
Yeah. See, I thought there was another account, because you know what, that's what it was, the brochures that they had, that was put together underneath some kind, I saw on there, it said through the fund, some kind of special fund. I'm like, I never heard of that or seen it,
We
so.
also had a grant. Where does grant money come out?
Oh, well, I mean, that's a good point, it's not on
Okay,
there. It's just
yeah, because remember,
separated.
here's a copy of it.
Yeah.
It was the Bisbee Foundation Evergreen Cemetery Endowment Grant.
There,
So it was
okay.
through them, and remember, this was 20 years ago.
So it was through a grant, so it's probably
Yeah.
done and gone.
And I have a question about, we had the walk, what was that called? Yeah, in October, whatever.
Yeah.
Did we not make money on
We
that?
did.
Where did it go?
Yeah, where did, yeah.
Where's that money?
It would have been whoever had the money, I didn't see it with that, but everything would have been turned into the finance director and put right back into your guys' account. I can try and find out
I'd like
if
to
there's
find
any
out.
kind of allotment or where exactly we can see that.
Yeah, it'd be
And we
nice
can bring
just
it next
for
time.
transparency.
Let me go ahead and write a note in my,
That could be on new business agenda.
there you go, yeah.
So
Whatever
that
it
was
is.
Halloween
Petty cash from Halloween
tour.
tour.
Because they're
Not
getting
petty,
ready
but-
to do something else, so I'd like to know.
New business, where is profits?
And disposable equipment and tools, what's disposable except for like garbage bags?
Oh, so Sawzall blades,
Okay.
trimmer string, that type of
Weed
stuff.
whacker, weed whacker,
Exactly.
string, and
Oil
garbage
would
bag.
also be, gas, that kind of-
Okay.
There is profit from-
And then, like, I think I've seen DOC workers have been out there. When did they get paid at a different time or something? Why is
They
this
have.
salary just sitting here, like the money came from, how does that work? Why,
Right, so basically they have, we are in a new fiscal year since we started in July, so that's probably why
okay,
part of
that's why
this
this
is.
looks like that.
Yeah, it
That
hasn't
makes
caught
sense.
up. So, yeah, this is a brand new budget more or less, so we've only got a month. So the next time we meet, you'll probably see the invoices from DOC, that fund's coming out.
Start to change,
Yeah.
okay.
Which fortunately it's not too expensive, they're cheap labor. Good labor, but cheap.
Yeah, I've never used to that in my mind, fiscal years start in July.
It's taken me a little bit to get used to that stuff, I can say that.
So we're over budget under operational expenses.
Yes, in the parentheses. How that is the case, I don't know. I'll look into that one too.
Yeah, that needs to be. Because if we only have 5,000, or supposedly, that's still in my mind that we get 5,000. But we're almost done.
Operational expenses.
We just started.
Unless maybe we paid the DOC workers through that fund.
To the wrong account, possibility, yeah. That's a little ask. Because I was just trying to think of anything we've spent out there, and nothing since July at all. Yeah. Okay. So you guys want me to follow up on that one too? If I just find out where that's at. Okay. Is there any more questions on that stuff? Okay. Well, done with that one. Reviewing financials. We'll move on to item number 2 for old business. Discussion and possible approval to digitize cemetery pamphlet and add a QR code for easy access. I love that. I did that.
Yes. Oh, you have it on there too.
I did, but unfortunately I used a not free one. So it said it was free, and I thought I read through everything far enough, but then it was like 30-something days later, and it's $15 to continue on. So I talked to Heather Loken, Visitor Center Director, and she told me the QR code that they found that is actually free, where you can use it just to link up. So this one was wasted. Just a demo is what we're going to say.
Demo, yeah, it's okay. It was a learn. It was. We're all
So what do you
learning.
think of this, size-wise?
I like that.
I like it.
And that will
Is it
fit.
small or too small or too big? Or?
No, I think that if you know,
Where's it go?
That's the other thing. What we were thinking is right at each row entrance, right underneath sunrise to sunset. Underneath those signs right there.
Yeah.
So then people walking in immediately click and boom, they got your map.
Nice. I like that.
Okay, cool. So
Now
I will
they
go
can
ahead and
just-
redo this
Now we
with.
can just open the gate for them so they can get out when they get locked in would be.
Yeah. Joni is dealing with that.
Well,
Some
she's-
sneaky folks.
She's being,
I'm just joking.
I had seen on here. It's not. I can't pull it up right now, but I saw on here where you made it to where I could just click in on it. I think
On the website?
on my computer I can, and it's not working on my phone right now. But thank you. I was so excited when I saw that. I was
You're
like,
welcome,
yeah,
yeah.
something happened.
It's
Yay!
an easy one, just, here it is, I've got had to find the digital thing that was missing supposedly, right? And then link it on the website, so.
And then, just so you guys know, like, because it is 20 years old, and I'm already like seeing like, there's
Errors.
one, and there's no, yeah, errors. I would like to work with the museum, and let's edit it, and make sure it's corrected, and then at some future time, but at least we have it out there.
Yeah,
now.
we got
Thank you.
a lot of those pamphlets, I think they found a ton of them more
They
recently.
did?
Yeah, I
Oh.
believe so, I'll double check on that.
Will you get back to me, because Carmen Falcone was gonna make a bunch of copies.
Okay,
But I think that's fine, I'm not gonna tell her no.
Yeah.
But, it's nice to, I would even take them and put them in the
same
shelf,
thing.
or, the kiosk like that.
Okay. Alrighty, so, yeah, I wish I'd followed through.
It's okay.
We slow down and read, we're too busy, didn't slow down and read everything all the way through. But I will go ahead and get 3 more of these made, and I was thinking of putting one by the kiosk too.
Yes.
yeah.
We got it there, so,
Yes.
okay, we'll do 4 of these, if that works.
Fantastic. And like with money-wise, I'm even fine with one by the kiosk, just because people who are interested in this kind of thing, they're gonna be at the kiosk reading.
Yeah,
Math
They don't have
anyways.
one there. We don't have one anywhere else.
Yeah,
yeah. So just one by the kiosk?
I think just to save money and save, how when too many signs go up, it's cluttered. But it's not a big deal.
I kind of like it being where you've got the instructions to, get out by dusk.
Oh, get the underneath the
Instead
sunrise
of-
to
Yeah, that's
sunset
good
sign?
too. Because that is,
Or at a gate.
Yeah, if they.
that sign is
opposite
visible from the
side.
street.
Just so it's available so people can see it.
Because they
when
would
they
see
get it.
that sign before they'd see the kiosk.
Yeah, it's fun, it's cool. One, at least one
Even
on the
three,
street.
you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys are good with that. They're not super expensive, they're not like cheap, but they're not horribly expensive. I think this was 26 or something along those lines, maybe, after shipping. Okay, so are you guys, we're all good with that? I'll move forward. So go to number 3. Okay, discussion and possible approval to select a personalized lawn plaque.
Okay, this was for Bisbee Project Wildlife, and that was so long ago that it became a moot point. And then actually, there, when I investigated it, it was like there was only one plaque, because Carmen Falcone said, "Oh, we'll pay for it," because she wanted a nice big metal one, the fancy one, not just the flat placards. So there was only one type that fit. So I was like, yeah, there's nothing to choose from. So it was ordered, and then I took a picture of it. I would put it on the fence today, but it's just with wire. So if someone has an issue with that, we can move it. Or
No, I don't think that's.
looks good. And let me find that. Here it is. So the very middle gate, you know, it's not on the gates, it's next to the gate.
Next to the, yeah.
That's nice.
Oh yeah, that looks good. Yep, we can have another one of these in Grassy Park as well, same kind of
Yeah.
sign right in the
Yeah,
fundamentals.
good,
Oh,
good.
there you go.
Yes, and eventually we're probably going to see one of those Project Wildlife signs at the beginning, Bisbee city limits too, on there they want, so that's something I'm trying to get going too. Be a wildlife community. So that one is all done as well then.
Yeah.
Okay. Discussion and possible approval to set up Facebook page for the cemetery.
That's been completed.
That is done. Alright. I didn't realize that you figured, I thought you had started that a while ago. Would you send a link to some, or where is it? Just Facebook?
It's on Facebook, yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you this picture, and then we'll take a picture shaking hands. We'll put that, I'll send that too,
Yes.
we'll post that, and then, yeah, it's just, and eventually the link, or that link would be nice to put on the Facebook page.
Oh, with
A self-guided
thank you.
tour, just say, hey, everybody, go check out the
Yeah.
self-guided tour.
hey, you can just take the link right off of our website too and connect it to probably. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, exactly, just so that's on Facebook too. And I've been going and putting markers that match this and writing a number on it, just like little, metal, what they use to mark gas lines and stuff.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah, so I
utility.
just, yes, and some of these still have like this, I know that they were the original ones that went with this tour. They're these big metal rods that stick up, and it has like a twisty on top, like it probably used to have a number that went with this.
Oh.
But not all of them have it, only some. Like over the years, they've fallen apart. So just temporarily, I've been putting them out there. We may want to, if we're really pushing this, then we probably want to number those a little bit better, because they're hard to find sometimes.
Yeah. Well, if you want, that sounds like a whole project we could start up too.
Yeah.
And update and all that.
So I'll put that with new business, just to
Yeah.
start researching, sturdy ways to mark graves that still looks classy.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Mark. Graves that are on the tour.
Graves that are, yeah, these specifically on the self-guided tour, so that it's easier for people to find them.
Solar power strobe light. Might mess with the vibe a bit. Alright. Yeah, we were just going through this quick. Okay.
Good, because that's something.
This is probably what Joni wanted, huh?
Yes, the hoses.
Discussion on trees, hoses, and rules sign.
I think we've talked about that a bunch of times, and we can move this along to the next agenda. Can we just have a copy of the city code?
Yes.
that deals with the cemetery, and then we can discuss it and say, you know, update it if it needs it, or think about, do we want to make a sign or not?
Yeah, because it wouldn't be much as far as what's in the city code, I think, as far as that. I think we'd want to be adding some of our own
Yeah,
rules to that.
see what it
portion,
is.
maybe a little. So yeah, we could review that next time.
Definitely.
City code, do that in new business then?
Yes.
Okay. We'll do that in new business, and then we'll table this since it was Joni's and she has not been able to make it.
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, new business, discussion on wildlife habitat designation sign, columbarium exploration. Sounds like two.
Yes, it's, I know what, Lorena put it all on there.
All right.
I'm
Well,
typing away. Yeah, I have, columbarium exploration is just still in the idea phase. If anybody's interested in exploring that with me, I think it would be awesome to, we could, you know, write grants, get infrastructure funding, build a really pretty one in the east part of the cemetery. You know, I think I've already said this. I don't want to bore you guys with this
No.
story again.
You are if you want.
You know, have it be classic style, but it's a way to preserve that eastern hill that's all native. It's like a Chihuahuan desert hill. It's Ocotillo, it's covered in birds. It's really pretty, and it would be nice to have a columbarium there that's all desert landscape, sustainable. You know, get landscape architects to design it, pool the water. You know, make it not modern. You know, I want it to fit with the cemetery, but just make it sustainable to last another 200 years. Yeah, so it doesn't need, you know, DOC workers, and it doesn't need water, and it still can be pretty and a nice place for people to honor their loved ones. And it'll fit a lot more people in the cemetery, and a lot more people are getting cremated. We don't need to use space, and I just see that, you know, that's a whole slope going up there, and it's not good drainage, and the way the roads are. It'd be nice if we could plan it and have it, you know, really done by engineers and, you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. You know, I think if what we want to do then is we want to look for a grant that could help us come up with a conception,
Yes.
conceptual design or whatnot. And then that's probably the first thing we'd have to really start. So we can get that idea that you just talked about onto paper, and then we can bring that to folks, like, look at this amazing idea that we want to do, and then it's a lot easier to get the funding then, sometimes.
Yeah, the only thing I've seen is, do you guys know where I'm talking about on Subway Street? There's some beautiful, are those called frescoes when it's sculpture coming out of the wall?
Yeah, there's yeah, I know what you're saying.
So they're like, I think they're called frescoes. Anyways, there's two of them, and one is like a Sonoran Desert habitat, and one looks more like ours. It has yuccas. They're so pretty, and the historian from the museum, when he was doing his walking tour, he pointed that out. The guy who did those learned that technique from all the beautiful frescoes in the old high school. So it does relate. It's old school architecture, or architectural decoration. And then I've seen it. The same thing is on the DeConcini building in Tucson. So that's a famous guy, and those are beautiful. So I picture like those would be so pretty, and just on either side, because they're real classy, and but also brings out that nature. Anyways, that's as far I've taken it. So you gotta start with I think you start by making a committee, and you how did you say that and get it?
Basically get a concept drawing done, get your idea on the paper, and then I think it'd be easier to sell it. I mean, you can describe things to people, and then they go, look at that, and this is what it'll do, and they're not making any more land. So
exactly, and then I did go on a cemetery tour in New Orleans, loved it, and the guy there, I was asking him, he's part of the Odd Fellows, and he was saying too, a lot of these organizations, they have that in their bylaws to honor the dead. So, you know, you could reach out for, and he gave me the name of an organization that is for cemeteries that, you know, maybe there's, you could get grants from
Good
that
ideas.
kind of thing, ideas and money. That, hey, you know, Elks, you got a bunch of people buried at here.
There's a multitude of different, the elk, the moose, the wood.
All those
moose,
organizations, they
masons,
give money
the-
too. And then also, you know, already the fundraiser ideas we have. Pay for, you know, hey, give us donation, you know, all that kind of stuff. So that's it, but I would like to get more people on our committee. Or something that could be a long-term goal for us.
Find a member.
Jenna, do you might have, how would you, been around a little bit more with this type of stuff than me.
No,
So how would you say that, like, getting a concept drawing or idea
yeah, I think that
down?
would be good, yeah, because when I go places, I go to cemeteries. And like she was saying, I went to the New Orleans, and there were some really cool things, but I also went to the ones in New York. And my friend and I went to a lot of the old Catholic churches and such. And that's where I saw some of the first really nice columbariums above ground, and they were either doubles packs, or you can buy doubles or singles, so you can put a multiple. There's, my friend worked at the cemetery in the Bronx, no, in Brooklyn, this big one, and they had a beautiful, like the Japanese people of that area put in a beautiful with koi ponds, but they have them enclosed and then they have them out exposed. But most of the ones that I saw were out, but they were nice, marble, and they had locks on them, so they were lockable.
Gotcha.
But I mean, down the road, who knows, maybe somebody would like the ice plant. No, you know, and that would be a wonderful too, but I like her idea of the Art Deco. That would be cool because it fits in with the natural setting.
Yeah.
Do you want to jump back now that Joni's here? Can you do that?
Yeah.
Go back to old business number 5, item number 5?
Yeah, we tabled discussion on trees, hoses, and rule sign.
So the monsoons are here, so I'm gotta go up there with my little, I have a little to like break up the soil. So it'll roll some more, so I'm gonna wait till they dissipate and then I'm gonna start draining the water just to let you know and test it out. What was the other thing you said? The trees. Don't forget, you guys, the city took trees from us because remember you bought them and you planted them over
And
again.
then they died.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because you talked about don't transplant.
How many?
I want to say, you did at least 4, if not more. You'd have to go back and look. But when I talked to the dude at Parkland, I'm trying to remember what he told me is a good time. Probably September, I want to say, is a good time. But that's something we need to check on, I guess. When would be a better time to plant them?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all the topping didn't get finished, which is an unfortunate thing. But maybe we can work on, make it a goal to have the trees topped. You know, maybe once a month we can top 2 trees. You know, because there's about 15 trees or 20 trees left that need to be topped. And it's really not that hard. It's just, you know, finding the time to do it.
I mean, our guys have the time to do that, but we need a bigger boom with a lot of those, I thought. But I'll send it
I mean, you don't have to necessarily top it at the top of the dead, because some of it is sparse if you really look at it. Because the boom that I thought you guys had should reach it, because there's a boom at the school that would have reached it. Because I was looking at a lot of the dead ones, and they're not that high up. But if they are, we can leave that. If it's a little, we can leave those and just get the real bad ones first.
Yeah.
Because that would be better, I think.
Yeah, Luke quoted us, I think it was 7,000 to finish
That
up
was my next question.
all of them.
No
He
more-
did a few
no
of
more
them for free.
freebies anymore, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
Unfortunately. But that's okay, he did some, so, but that, if we can do it in-house, I'd rather try to get as much done and then maybe contract out the real tall ones.
yeah,
But we can't-
that
that might
would
be
be
an
look at
idea.
doing that.
What was the other?
Rule sign.
Rule sign. So when we did that tour, which was fun, and I have high school kids asking, "Are we do it again?"
Oh, good.
So, yeah, we've got kids that are interested, and I'm trying to get kids interested in youth council, which will correlate, because then we can pull from youth council also. But in that, we had a list of rules that had been around. They had like stolen from Douglas, and we kind of incorporated that in the tour. And they're generally good rules that most cemeteries, you know, quiet, no alcohol, no, I'm trying to think of what else. Don't, you know, be respectful of the graves, and I know. But I know that one that everybody, no alcohol. I said, well, you know, that's, that rule came about, I mean, that one doesn't necessarily have to be in there, because people go like for, what do you call it, the Day of the Dead, and people going on it, that was more, I think, geared for teenagers up there drinking and everything, but do you have the rules on you, Carolyn?
Yeah.
You have it across it, because I don't remember them all off the top of my head. I have been having an issue with people up there, sunsets, and I've been pretty lenient on sunsets. Some people seem to think sunset is, dark, dirty, black.
Right.
You know, and I'm up there and I got all these walkers, and I'm like, I hate to push trouble, guys, but I'm gonna close the cemetery, so. Which is nice that they're using it, but, yeah, sunset's been a comical issue, closing the gates, but,
So what
Sunset
time
and
do you
nightfall
think?
is a difference.
pardon me?
So what time do you think? I mean,
What time?
Yeah, I mean, why
I
not?
don't wanna do a time, because if I do a time in the winter, if I do 7 o'clock in the winter, then it's right dark. So it's seasonal, so what I tell people is, once the sun gets behind the mountain, that's pretty sunset.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and what I've done is, if it's like my dad, aren't you walking up, you know, I'll be visiting him, because Dad, I see light. And once it gets dusky, and that's what I've been going by, dusky. And dusky, by the time I get done with the gates, it's getting now dark. You know, so I've been giving people, especially holidays, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, I went after dark. You know, because those were days that, you know, 4th of July, I was
Well,
late on
some
it.
people just have to have it.
Right, I know, but there's some people that, you know, we've had some interesting issues that happen. I had some people in there at 9 o'clock at night.
No.
You locked me in. I locked the gates at 8:45, and I drove around. Where were you? I was like, or 7:45 actually, and that one person called the cops at 8:45. So they were in there like a whole hour before they called, and I'm still trying to figure out where the heck they were hiding.
Yeah.
Because when I go in, I take, forget the street. It's not A Street, it's First Street. Go down First Street, right there at Warren, and then go all the way up the backside by Shady Gal, and then I cut back, and then I go up Charlie, go see Charlie, he's on C Street, and then I go all the way back up there and cut by the Serbians.
So you're gonna see them.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying, we've got, like I said, spookies in there, but anyway, and then I cut down, and then I go down the main drag, so you see me driving. I have my regulars that are over in the news section, and they'll see me, and once they see me coming down the stretch, they start loading up, and then
So we don't need to give you one of those bullhorns?
No, I just drive up to them like I did the jogger last night. Come on. No, and I rolled out my window, I said, it's closing. You're gonna have to go down and block the gates. I had one guy around the gate one time. And I went down there, what are you doing? There's an open gate down the other way, and he got all pissy with me, and I thought, remain calm. But I was like pretty grumpy. So most people are understanding, and I'll just tell them, the last gates are open, I'll follow you, I'm giving you time, I still have 2 more gates to do. So I'll grow, drive slow, watch the bunnies, chase the quail, you know, let them have a little bit more time. And then by the time I go down the real gate, as I call it, the tall gates, and I'm locking that leaves the very last gate. And that's usually when the last people will come out there. And it's mainly the same people that they're visiting, and I know who they are now. But we get a lot of people from Shady Bell, it's weird. On the weekends, walkers, and they're walking our cemetery. Yeah, this is a cool cemetery. And I'm like, yeah, it's great in the daytime.
When there's a section down for the deer, they can use that to
Right,
grab.
you know, but it's like, come on, people, you had all morning, all afternoon, what's going on? You know, so,
It's hot during the day.
right, it is, but morning's not, you know, but,
That's when I go for my
yeah.
walks.
But anyway, so, the rules would be nice too. We still have a couple people that take their dogs in there, and I get,
I saw the no dog, there's
no dog sign forever.
allowed as well.
And I guess it wouldn't bother me so much, but they don't pick up after.
I don't think they know.
No, they don't.
There is not a place.
Right, and it infuriates me that they,
Yes.
you know, one, you're violating a rule, and then you don't even pick up after the
Yes.
little manger, you know?
They'll
So,
do it in the park. There's
right,
nothing to do with it.
go to the cemetery, sure.
I
But,
forgot in the bag and actually went back.
yeah.
I drove back and I went to see my bag. I'm worried somebody's gonna see me to snap a picture.
Yeah,
Public works over here, not following rules.
but it's,
So Joni, we put this to be on our next meeting.
that would be
agenda,
good, let it,
A copy of the city ordinance, and then we will review it and
Right.
edit.
that would be good. And it's, you'll take out if there's something you don't like or you think is redundant. But again, like I said, those mainly, I believe, came from Douglas, because I was driving by Douglas last summer, and I thought, hey, I know those rules. But they're pretty common, at most, if not all cemeteries. There are basic rules
Of
that they
course.
expect, yeah. And it just blows my mind how many people don't. And somebody asked me the other night, why do you lock your cemetery? And I said, because there's value. And they looked at me like, what? And I said, people still headstones, they still
Mhm.
brass, they still
Vandalize.
pictures, they vandalize. Well, I said, well, if I could conjure, and keep them from it, I would, but.
Some people weren't raised by.
Right, they're just very disrespectful, and unfortunately, and then you have, of course, kids, like go partying and playing at the cemetery.
Well, Bisbee is the seat of Cochise County, and we got the jail,
Right,
and all those guys come that way when they get picked up everywhere else, and then they don't leave.
right,
A lot of them.
right.
I'll say that,
I
but-
didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah, that's another.
We're getting a bus stop installed over by the county jails, just so that people can get back to where they need to.
I appreciate that. I feel bad. I see people walking
I know.
and I'm like, oh, they're sweating, they don't have water, and they're coming out of jail.
Yeah,
How does that feel?
so we're gonna try and do vouchers and all that, and just get them where they need to go.
Okay,
Good.
yeah, so what
Move
else,
along.
what did that all say about trees? Did it mention trash?
I know nothing about trash.
I was just curious if you know what the schedule is for the cemetery, because sometimes it goes for a couple weeks.
Well, we've been having some issues with
Okay.
our vehicles.
Okay, I was
recently,
just curious, so,
yeah.
because some of them were overflowing, and I was like, uh-oh, so.
I'll mention it to them to make sure, but yes, the cemetery is one of the places
Okay.
that will end up getting neglected a little if we're trying to scramble with everything else.
So,
But they're charging us.
Yes, they are.
so as far as, like I said, the watering, right now the monsoons are coming in, I'm hoping we'll have one more rain and then I'm gonna go up there. I have one of those tines, that you step on and twist,
Yeah.
so I can loosen it up, and then when I start flowing it will make it flow easier. I'm letting the monsoon try to soften everything up, so it was like concrete up there.
Okay.
And we've had some good rains, so I'm hoping this next one, we got one more that should come in. If it doesn't come in by Sunday, then I'm just gonna go up there and twist a few and try to open that up.
Is it the water container you're talking?
No, I have it's called they're tines, metal tines. And you step on it, it goes in the ground, and then you twist it, and it aerates.
Oh, aerator, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay, I
yeah,
gotcha. Aerating.
Yeah, it's kind of like weeds, but then once we start running the water, then it'll go easier.
Into the
It'll stay
ground.
into the ground and that type of stuff. Now, what would be nice if we could figure out a way to get those stumps out. I don't know if there's any way that we could cut them because they're all dead.
We budgeted for a stump grinder
Okay.
attachment onto our skid steer because I've been
Okay.
having Kevin Macbeth from Bisbee Road ask about a stump since I've started. So I really want to take care of it. I didn't realize they had a bunch of them.
Degrees.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
We need to start.
There's something else I was gonna tell you about.
I'll text you with the photo.
I
But
mean,
anyway, so, I
Yeah.
guess that's it, right? Did I miss?
just trees, hoses, and
Yeah,
rule
that was it.
signs.
Now we're
So
back over to,
Right.
new business.
new business item number 2, Ramon Garcia.
Yay.
She's actually number 3.
Oh,
It's no, well, technically because she didn't
we
separate.
didn't
this.
have the discussion.
Yeah.
Do I need to turn this on for recording?
Oh, you can turn on. Yeah, probably better. Well, you're closer. You'll probably hear us
Might pick up.
better, but. Oh, it's not. There you go.
I just turned it on. Thanks for giving me the time. I come before you today, and we've talked a little bit about the Pioneer Walk that was done last Halloween. Well, we didn't know if it was going to come back or not ourselves, and there's a group of us that really enjoyed it, wanted to see something happen, and an opportunity came up where we have, working with some local historians, were interested in doing another Pioneer Walk, but they wanted to do something a little different and do an evening Pioneer Walk. When we first started putting this proposal together a little while back, the intent was to open it up to the community, to do an evening Pioneer Walk, to maybe satisfy some of those individuals that want to get in there after dark, but in an organized, controlled way, and following a path, following a specific tour, with individuals in period costume telling factual stories of the characters they're portraying at certain graves in the cemetery. Really looking at those parts of the cemetery where the graves are a lot older and chances of them having families still in the community are really relatively minuscule, and that way we wouldn't be disturbing anybody's, family plots or what's going on in the communities, with full respect to the integrity of the cemetery. Additional to that, working with Gretchen Bonaducci and some of her connections, she was approached by a studio in Hollywood to do an 8-part series of haunted locations throughout Arizona, but base it here in Bisbee. And really kind of focusing some of it at the Greenway Manor because of the potential haunted aspects of there. So regardless of where they go throughout Cochise County and in other parts of the state, their home base would be really being filmed here locally. So we'd be able to bring some business in and some production to Bisbee as a whole. It's not a sensationalistic type of program. It's more factual based, where they have actual historians working with them to discuss some of the background of where and individuals that they're discussing. But it is an unscripted program, so that it's not looking, somebody's reading off of a script to try to do so. Initially, we wanted to do some filming of the cemetery as well during the Pioneer Walk that we're proposing. In the evening, primarily some B-roll type filming, just of the characters in the background, and some of the older crypts and tombstones that are available to us. However, that was pre-strike in Hollywood. So we're still coming and asking for a permit of council when we get to that point, to be able to, if the strike is ended before then and we still are able to pull somebody in to do some filming, to possibly already have that in place rather than coming back and doing this again at a later date, to try to really limit the impact on the cemetery to this event at one time, especially after hours in doing so. And what I'm asking of the cemetery committee is really kind of a blessing, and knowing that, a lot of us who are involved have families who are buried at the cemetery and respect what goes on there, and that it's really kind of looking at how the Halloween Pioneer Walk went, just doing it again, and maybe just at a different time of the year and at a different time of the day, because we know that there are a lot of people who want to get into the cemetery at night. We would limit where they would go. We have, we've designated in the application for right-of-way permit to council real specific areas of the cemetery. And going back to the brochure, on that map, looking at areas 50, 51, 26, 25, and 20 as the 5 areas of the cemetery that we would be going into, which is literally the area to the left as you go into the cemetery, right between, well, by the Shady Dell, that front part of the cemetery. And then,
Could you say those numbers again, please?
sure, it's 50 and 51. And then 26, 25, and 20.
All right, thanks.
So we're limiting it to really 2 geographic areas of the cemetery. And that way, any walking would really be up that first roadway. So we're limiting walking on graves or on grave sites and trying to keep people on the road as much as possible. And we're looking at approximately 4 or 5 different character actors to get to the different stations, and they'd be telling the stories for those individuals. It would be a ticketed event, and though there wouldn't be a set schedule, we would set time parameters, and with the last one probably 30 minutes before closing, so they can get to as many of the character actors as possible. The ultimate goal is not to make money. Any proceeds that we make is coming back to you guys.
Yes.
We're going to turn around and give the money back to the cemetery committee, in hopes of getting the interest going and seeing what happens. And like I said, the filming is secondary at this point. We still are interested in doing the Pioneer Walk, but with full disclosure, if the strike is resolved in Hollywood, that would free them up to come out and do some filming. And they want to do it because they want to go into post-production right after the first of the year. So, and then again, like I said, give Bisbee more exposure and bring some stuff in. Afterwards, if I thought Lorena was going to include, that I see that they don't have the actual permit application. There is an alcohol permit in here, but it's not for the cemetery. It's for a meet and greet afterwards at the Greenway House. So that'll be included there afterwards to try to, people who want to get back to that, and see the Greenway House as well. A lot of people have not had an opportunity to get in there. Francine Powers, who is a local, she grew up here. Her original maiden name was Rojas. She has written several books and has another one in production. And she is a haunted historian and has done books on not only haunted Bisbee, haunted Cochise County and stuff. Dee Branning, who's also another author, and directs more ghost hunting tours and stuff in other communities throughout Arizona.
What was that name?
Her name is Dee Branning,
Dee Branning.
or Deb Branning, D-E-B-E. And then Marshall Shore. I don't know if you guys know Marshall Shore. Marshall is Arizona's hip historian. He works with the Arizona Historical Society. He makes history fun. And he's been in Bisbee and has done some work in and around Cochise County quite a bit. And they're the three that will be consulting and participating in the walk itself, as well as trying to find some other local volunteers who are willing to participate.
Oh, who was the third? I got Deb and Marshall and...
Francine Powers.
Oh, Francine, that's right.
Mhm.
Okay. Francine is the local expert.
Yes, she's the local.
So her maiden name was Wilcox?
Rojas.
Rojas.
Yeah, she grew up here, and their first book, there's a lot of paranormal stuff, of like local
Yeah.
houses.
She was
Sure, we have
actually
that.
one of the original ghost tour operators in Bisbee. When she was here. They now live in Tucson, but her roots are here. She's back quite often. Stuff like that. So.
Can I read something real quick?
So, 2012. Recent filming inside a historic Bisbee cemetery upset city officials. City councilwoman Luci Giacomino said Tuesday the Evergreen Cemetery where some of her relatives are buried should not be treated like a studio lot. The Bisbee Public Works Department says it was told by Bloody Border Film Company was going to photograph the cemetery and possibly take some video. Public Works Manager Andy Horadek says he monitored the production to make sure it was respectful. Giacomino said she saw actors with makeup and blood. Councilwoman said she doesn't want to see anything like that along with the foam and headstones. City officials are looking into creating an ordinance outlining what kind of permits the Public Works Department can approve. I watched that film. It was not very disrespectful. I mean, not very respectful. It was very disrespectful.
Blood, wouldn't it?
Huh? Yes, uh-huh. And I forget
Anything
what's-
that had blood in it.
Yeah, and it was ridiculous. You know, one of the first questions I was gonna ask was who's gonna get the money? It kind of bums me out because, you know, we started touring and now everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon. I don't know, but I suppose if we get the money, go ahead.
I'd like to bring something up. Last time I was in a meeting, I took pictures of some of the graves, and we've got graves that have 2-foot holes in them. Has anybody looked at these sections? I mean, we have to think of liability, and after dark, having people walking into a 2-foot hole in a grave is not a good thing.
Right, and we will do so additionally, anytime we get a right-of-way permit from the city. We have to carry liability insurance that covers and
Right, that
indemnifies
was
the
my-
city as well. So, you know, we're already
You're
looking
thinking
for
of
quotes
liability.
and stuff like that. You know, for those of you who don't know me, I run Bisbee Pride and have been doing that for the last 8 years. So, you know, I'm aware of the liability issues and stuff like that. We haven't gone in specifically and walked the route itself yet. We thought it was a bit premature and you know, in respect to the cemetery, we didn't want to go in there. We definitely are not going to be costuming people in blood and guts. It's literally B-roll that they're going to be doing. Again, if it even happens, you know, and it's literally for background shots for the series. We're really not even looking at the cemetery for the filming side of this as a haunted location that they're going to be doing. It's just, you know, they want to shoot some of the actors doing some of, you know, the history with the B-roll and stuff like that. Like I said, we will be, when we do the night Pioneer Walk, we are intending to put lighted pathways using battery operated lights so that people stay within that in order to avoid any tripping and you know, physical, you know, impediments for people walking. And that's why we also are trying to keep everybody as close to the street side as possible when they're moving around in there. So, yeah, I mean, we appreciate that, and definitely that's something as we get closer to time of production, because those holes may be 2 foot now, but as Jody said, with some of the rains that are happening, they may be deeper than that by the time, you know, it comes.
I'm hoping we have all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
What is the size of the groups you're planning on having?
so we're
That's an issue.
not going to do groups coming through. There'll be individuals will come through on their own. If we see a big group starting to form, we will limit how many people come through at a time, so that there's no, you know, big group of people standing around beyond what we kind of limit through these pathways.
So if they're not monitors, what's going to guarantee that they're staying?
No, there will be monitors. There will be monitors throughout the course, as well as the actors themselves. That, you know, we'll sell tickets and they'll have, we're looking at sunset, so probably about a couple hours after we start, period, and shut it down. And literally trying to keep people moving on their own, but within the parameters that we set up. And we will have staff and security throughout there as well, so that we don't have people trying to sneak off into other parts that aren't you know, on the tour, and trying to pull what they do with Joni and say after she locks up. Because we'll have plenty of people, you know, locked in afterwards. We could always put a little caveat that says, if you're not out by a certain time, we'll see you in the morning.
Just hire
Just
Dobermans and put them on.
There we go, we can do that. So, yeah, we had a lot of the similar discussions amongst ourselves about how we could keep people from meandering off the path and doing so, and to the point where we've made a conscious decision of having volunteers as well as maybe even hiring rangers to help with security and just limiting people, you know, where they go.
Do you guys have any more questions or comments, discussions from
Concerns?
yourselves? And this is also a possible approval, so that means we could vote on this as well, and you do have enough.
I kind of want to think about it.
You want to think about it?
I do. I
Okay.
don't know if anybody else.
That's fine if you need to think about it. I could vote now, but you just let us know.
So tell me what.
I think it's great if the money goes back to us. Who else is trying to make money for us? And I'm not doing the work. Thank you. And he's saying 4 characters. You know, it's not going to be even like how many we had on here.
It was, yeah, I think we're looking at maybe even half of what was there. We're looking at 5 to 6 characters.
So
tops.
like 5 characters in period costume. Are they gonna? Is it gonna be by the grave of
Yes,
somebody and
yeah,
they're gonna talk about
the
that
characters will
person?
be standing
Okay.
and telling their story by the
But
gravesite.
not like haunted
No.
orbs.
No.
Or
No.
here's the machine to read.
Yeah, no, we're not going to do any kind of that
Things that we
there.
handed those out on the.
No, not at the cemetery.
So I mean, because I'm entertained by those, but that would other
Right.
people would not be
But
entertained by
for
those.
us, it's,
Columns
I mean,
just-
and we'll have those discussions after that at the Greenway House, but at the cemetery, it's really just a pioneer walk.
And on Halloween?
No,
No
it's
date has been
September
decided.
29th is our target date
Next year,
this year.
this year? Oh, I had first of the year.
But it's okay, if you want to wait to the next meeting to vote on it. you
Well, our
could.
next meeting's in November.
Unless you make another meeting.
Do you guys want to? I'll be in Detroit all next week, but we can do something after that. It's for work. I'm not going on vacation. Since it's September 29th? So, is there a motion, or you guys go ahead and vote on it now, or do you want to do another session? Sleep on it?
My only question, Logan, is find out from Ashley when it's going on to the city council agenda.
Yeah.
You know, so you guys would meet, if you don't vote today, might have to meet before, whenever that, it's agendized for council.
To make sure that we get your guys' permission, and then it can go to council after that.
Yeah.
Well, then, go ahead and vote, because they're going yay. I'm going, I don't know.
But you're both saying yay?
They're, you know, the majority.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we can do it. So, go ahead and, I am moderating. One of you guys, let's do a motion to vote or a motion to approve for me.
Okay, can you give me the title of this
The
proposal
content.
again?
It's a haunted pioneer walk at
Walk,
Evergreen
okay.
Cemetery.
Possible film, okay, I move that we approve the haunted pioneer walk and possible filming at the cemetery that will occur on September 29th. That the proposal that Ramon Garcia presented to us tonight.
I second.
All those in favor?
Motion passes, 2 out of 3.
Aye. Okay.
Alright, so, you good to go.
Thank you. If you guys have any questions, give us a call.
All right,
Reach out to
your
me.
phone number, Mr. Garcia.
520-336-7768.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Ramon. Alright.
And so, future items for discussion, that's where I want to come in on the deal.
Could we list what we already have set, a bunch of the
Sure.
stuff that we set first?
So, for member comments, we'll
We
list it
need
off.
to, so that for the next agenda, new business, we need to get a chair.
Yep.
What happened to how, can we have some paperwork like this on the Halloween tour petty cash?
This, Joni might be able to answer that now that she's here. Do you know what happened to the, cash?
Like our Halloween tour money,
Yeah.
why doesn't it show up on this?
I don't know, because it got turned in.
Okay.
Oh,
so
because
Cassie-
this is new, so.
Yeah, it got
like-
turned in, it should be in there if you go back to November probably.
Okay, so that's where, what I'll ask Carrie then is, where does it show up? Like, was it going in operational expenses?
Yeah, can we see
Is it
that?
Going in?
Just so I get, some get used to reading these budget.
Yeah.
Another question on that was the operational expenses.
Yeah.
It shows that we're over on that. Is it possible that we're paying the DOC workers from that?
Why are we over budget?
Yeah.
Where are the pamphlets for the kiosks that
And
rumored?
also, like, the grant money, would that be reflected on any of this as well, right?
I think it would have its own,
It might be in grants.
yeah, it might be in its
There's another
own,
whole other grants section,
yeah,
Okay.
what might be there.
that's probably exactly where it's at now that you say that.
But now that you go back, I'm kind of curious as in how it says we're over, what it would have been spent.
It's not drastic, but it is kind of interesting. So let's see, year to date, 1674.
And that's for what?
We budgeted 1,200.
Yeah, but I mean, it's under
So that's carrying over.
disposable or operational?
Oh, operational expenses.
So what does operational expenses include?
It could be anything that's not DOC workers or disposable
So it could be
permanent
digging
tools.
graves or that kind of stuff?
Yes.
And shouldn't the grave cost go back in though? Or does it go into the general fund?
I believe it goes into general fund internal
And
services.
so then that's not right, because if they're charging us to dig a grave,
Right.
you know, if it's coming out of our operational expense to dig the grave, that's
The
what I'm
people
wondering.
pay.
Right, and when they pay, that should go back in the cemetery, you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
that
know
money's
if
not
it is.
showing up here, and that's a
these
whole.
are questions for Carrie Bagley, the
Big
finance
operational.
director.
So
Honestly.
here's a question then, I guess you could ask if you would.
Yes.
Could we have an itemized statement of all operational charges,
Bingo.
operational fund charges?
Sure, I should be able to
Breakdown is
get
what
you
I'm trying to
that.
say. Ooh, I can't talk, sorry. It's been a long day.
And this is going to be the
And then we know exactly what's being charged, and it's like, popcorn.
Yeah, so, I mean, and
You
that's.
approve the accounts every single 2 weeks.
But they don't have a breakdown, that's the problem.
Yeah. It doesn't? I mean,
No,
it's,
cemetery-
oh, you're right, it
no,
just
it
shows
just says
ACE, B and D.
Well, or in this, it just
Or-
says operational expenses.
That's operational
For
expenses
cemetery.
is in every single one of these
Okay.
accounts.
'Cause when I
It's
look-
basically
yeah.
the spending for the account.
Right.
It covers everything if it's not a specific, like, so, like this, operational expenses.
Right. They've
Right,
got
it's not
us almost
disposable.
spending as much as the city.
Right. That's why it's
But-
kind of interesting that,
Under their operational expenses, they spent 2,000, they got us spending 1,200.
so I'm wondering, because remember they have that weird charge that everybody gets charged, it's for paperwork, it's for this, it's for that, I wonder if that's what that operational expense is. Do you know what I'm talking about? Every department gets charged a set
We
charge.
probably hardly.
Oh,
use
yeah,
the
that's
copy.
because it's basically like administration, more or less.
Right, so but why would the cemetery get charged that much, because is there that much administration, I guess is the question, that's why. The itemization, how do you say that word, itemization, is that how you say it?
Itemized.
Well, itemizing of it would be
Yeah.
nice, because then we know exactly what it is, because technically the only thing that we really spend money on would be the duties, and the garbage is already covered in our garbage bill. Or is there something else I'm talking about?
Honestly, that's might be where the issues come in. Somebody might have to do it, because if you look at sewer and garbage service, look what's unexpended. 36 cents,
Yeah.
but it just started over the fiscal year. Right? So we're only a month in, there should only have been one garbage bill. Right, and that you guys are the commercial rates,
Right.
so. It might just have been been taken out of operational expense, which is weird, because those numbers are quite a bit off from each other, so.
Right.
Yeah.
I will find out what our operational expense, itemized operational expenses are.
That'd be
Where
cool.
is, okay, hold on, you guys blew me up with a few different
Yeah,
questions, questions,
no,
so.
that was-
Understand.
Sorry.
I only have written where is funds, but I don't know where I was going after that.
Well,
Oh,
Okay, so we just want
itemized.
itemized operational expenses.
If that
And then
isn't
not the
that, we'll
Halloween
want
tour
something
petty
else.
cash?
oh yeah.
That's where we were first started with this expenses.
And then,
Yeah, I felt like I was getting audited for a second.
Are you ready?
where is this from?
Tour fund, tour profits, where did they go?
From
It's
the- do you
somewhere
have the graph?
on the back of my little pea brain, I think I remember seeing it in our paperwork, you know, after it was deposited, like in November, I think.
I'm sure it was, I just
Yeah.
don't know what happens to it after that point, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so, Carol, what you gonna
Yeah,
say?
where are the rumored pamphlets? If we could get our hands on those, I would take them and personally make sure they're at both museums and the visitor center and fill up the kiosk.
Yes, I will,
Huh?
if I find them and if that's where you guys want them, kiosk, museum, and where?
Sorry?
Kiosk, museum, and where? would you like?
I would do the Bisbee,
Visitor
the Restoration Museum and the Mining Museum and the Visitor Center, the mine tour. And then when these suckers get used up,
regular museum.
then we'll have the QR code signs up.
Restoration Museum, mine tour, the Copper Queen Museum,
All of the museums.
yeah, and then kiosk, that was it. Okay, and then, what do we got after that for new business? I think there's
So
something
we
else.
wanted to look at a copy of the rules and.
Oh, yes.
See if we can.
The city code, what's the city ordinance that
We'll
covers?
review city code,
Yes.
cemetery city code,
Yes.
review cemetery city code.
You might want to review that for funding too, just in case. they
Yeah.
get-
Review cemetery code. Make possible recommendations for rules. I wanna put that in, so we can do that. So new business, we're gonna vote on the chair next time. I'll provide you with itemized operational expenses. Where did the tour profits go? Where is that money allocated to? And where are the paper pamphlets? Once I locate those, I'm pretty sure I saw big box that Lorena had, so I will go ahead and email you after we get them to the Restoration Museum, Mine Tour Museum, and kiosk, and you guys can go pick one out.
Okay, or I was gonna say, just email me and I will go I would bring those,
Okay.
save you the trips. I
If
wanna
you want,
reach out
yeah.
to those folks anyways.
Okay.
Oh, here was another thing that we talked about out here. Could we make the online application just really easy? Right now, if you go on the city website to become a member of this committee, it's not editable. You have to print it out, fill it out, and go to the city thing. There's no printer, there's one printer at the library. It's really, I think it'd be.
Difficult for people to.
We may get members more quickly if that can be an editable,
Okay.
where you can just like open it up, here's my name, here's my name, blah, 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 blah.
Website editable.
Application.
PDFs or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think, we should be able to make editable PDF and
You
just
would
attach
think,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just turn it into an editable. It
Okay.
could either be PDF or it could even be a Word document, but at this point in time, it's really cumbersome. And it's the same way with the volunteer.
Yeah.
The volunteer.
yeah, the volunteers, two people I talked to, they're like, oh, I can't do it, like they tried, and
Right.
they just already quit because they got sick of the website.
This is making more sense why I've seen a lot of handwritten applications.
There you go.
It's
It's easier to go in and.
Memberships. Then, what was the other thing that needs it? Membership for the committees and something else?
Joni just mentioned it's also for volunteers.
Volunteers
also,
form.
yeah, the volunteer sheet.
Volunteer.
And they really need to go back and look at that form.
We need to look at our whole
all of it,
website.
Yeah, and all those forms, like even for to become a member. Because it's just some of it's redundant and it's like really, you really need
It's
to know
too
all that. It's very, you get to a point, it's like, forget that.
I don't need
Yeah.
it.
That's gotcha. So we
Yeah.
should probably
It's
just.
worse than a dang job application.
Yeah.
You know?
I know, right? I have a resume with all this info, and I still have to input this stuff.
Right, exactly. Can I see resume?
So where are we now? Are we at future items?
We're just adding, we're doing member comments and
Okay.
just making sure we got the new business all for next time.
I see.
So staff comments for me. Joni, you kind of missed it, but I will go ahead and get these taken
It's
care of.
not working, I just wanted to let you know. I just did it.
I know. I told them that I made a boo-boo
Oh.
and didn't read thoroughly enough, and it wasn't actually free. So after a certain amount of time period, it turned into $15 a year. So I talked to Heather at the visitor center. She does have a free one. She
Okay, good.
provided me with. So basically, this is
It
an
will
expensive
eventually.
demonstration for you.
But it will eventually expire, because I had that.
Was
At
it the
school
QR
last
code
year,
monkey?
yes. Well, maybe, have her check into it good, because
That's
some of mine expire, so I just pay a yearly fee.
a yearly
It's
fee.
not very much a year.
That's what she said. She hasn't had to
Okay.
pay with this one that she's used. So I was like, I should talk to you first.
And that might be something we have to do down the road, and that
Be an
it
expense.
would come out of our
Yeah,
cemetery.
easy to if necessary. If there's a free one, I'm gonna go with that. It's not like you guys get a lot, so. I would just staff comments. I think the whole tour thing is pretty awesome. In general, what you guys did, what Ramon's talking about doing, I think. I don't know how well this would be received, but I like seeing things being able to feed back in so it maintains itself. Like any good maintenance system, you're having something, allocating monies to be able to continue maintaining that. But it's a uphill battle, the way I see with what we have here. So if there is a way that we could actually have some more funds to do the things that you guys want to do, I think that's a really good thing.
Well, could be, that's the funds to fix, maybe there's a beautiful grave that's fallen apart that.
Oh, there doesn't have to be a beautiful grave. There are graves out there that are.
No, I'm just saying, I know there's hundreds of graves, but that would be a start, we could have a starting point of, hey, let's work on this section or this era.
I'm picking it, but I mean,
That's what I
Graves.
want for the future items for discussion. We've got to get some dirt in there and get those graves covered back up. I mean, I don't know what it looks like after the rains now, but the pictures I took were absolutely embarrassing. It's just sad. And we can't let it, why be trying to make money if we're not taking care of the graves,
So that we can.
right? But,
That's
you
what
know,
I'm
I
saying,
brought
right?
that up probably this time last year. I don't know what we can do except get out there with a wheelbarrow and try to get some dirt in us, you know.
I can definitely, I'll have you guys go look at that stuff. And what I would encourage, and I've said it before to you guys, if you guys see it, take a picture and send it to me.
Oh.
If there's something that
Okay.
you think needs to be addressed. I mean, we can do maintenance, and we've got a lot of materials to backfill some of that stuff, so just bring it to my attention. That's more or less the biggest issue. I don't know about it.
Well,
So
what's
do
your
you
number?
want the pictures?
I sent it to you.
I just need his email.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do we email you, or do you text you, or what do you want to?
However you guys want to do it, I'll tell you what. I'll give you one of my cards each.
There you
Okay.
go.
It's got email and phone
I was
number.
gonna say, don't give your phone number out.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
No, I work for you guys. For everybody, so.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just don't be mad if my hands are tied to some stuff. I'll do what I can.
Thanks, Logan.
You know.
I should have given your phone number. I would have lied.
I feel better already.
Yes.
Okay, so that's all I had for staff comments. Joni, do you have anything?
Kind of along the lines of repair is something in the future we need to look at. Is we talked about sponsoring trees and such. Maybe we should sponsor graves because there's some of the really old graves that their curbing is broken down and the fencing, the wrought iron around it. And if we could find people that are willing to sponsor a grave, you know, even if they just put $100 down, $100 could fix some of that curbing. It's a start.
I mean, I've even thought about, you know, putting in a day myself and going around and doing those wrought iron fences.
Like that's another thing too, having a paint day down here when it gets hung.
Well, you know what, I brought up the maintenance day before, and liability seems to be a big.
Well, they can fill out volunteer things. Yeah,
you know,
volunteer.
And I know we would have all kinds of people show up with their rakes and shovels, and
Right.
if we could do it, pick a day and do it.
And I know the high school, the kids are coming up needing community service, and one of the things I mentioned is
Exactly.
painting the fence. You know, having a backdrop of plastic, maybe we could use sprayers or even rollers. But a lot of these kids, like National Honor Society and such, the service organizations are required to do hours. And it'd be nice if we could, you know, if the kids, hey, we're gonna be there Saturday, you know, come out and help us
Exactly.
paint and.
If we could, as a committee, could set a date, you know, I could have trailers and everything else over there, mowers.
So maybe for the next meeting, that's something to think about, because by
That's
then
why I
it's gonna
wanted-
cool down
Okay.
quite a bit. Right now, it's scary hot.
And
even-
I'll line up what I can as far as, you know,
Right.
giving you an idea about a maintenance day.
Right. And then we can advertise it, once you guys decide on it, then it can go in the paper, it can go on Facebook.
Yes.
This is gonna
I
be, you
mean,
know.
I've really
one
wanted
call.
to do this for 2 years. I just think we did it so badly.
Because we could have those forms too, like, you know, that's another thing, a lot of places you go to, it's a, you know, waiver, you sign a waiver and you participate in whatever. We could have those there, we have the waivers for the tour, and people
Yeah.
had to sign the waiver before they took the tour. And we kept those waivers, and so if anything happened, you know, if they took on a rock or whatever. So, you know, it'd be nice if the city could, you know, look at something like that, maybe look at other cities and see if they have novellas that people have to fill
Bring us in a
out.
load
Well,
of
I mean,
dirt.
if you're gonna volunteer, it puts you under the city's workman's comp. That's why they do that. So then if something happens, you get injured, you're basically under insurance already, so. That's why they want people to do
I
volunteer for
understand
us.
the liability, right,
But
totally.
it'd be nice to see what other cities do, you know, how do the other cities, you know, what kind of volunteer forms do they have?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, because obviously it's gonna affect the money too. And I know that has been a deterrent, because people are saying, fill that out, you're kidding me.
so you're saying the option of just a waiver and saying I won't sue you?
Right, yeah, because I mean, we do that with, you know, in education a lot of times.
Yeah.
With a nonprofit I had, we did liability, and some people say, oh, they won't stand up in the court, well, it's a volunteer for this, and be there, you know, I mean, I don't know. It's just unfortunate because it is a deterrent to a lot of people. And the older we get, the more perceived we get.
But the pickier I get about those graves,
No, I
You just
agree.
can't go walk up and look into a hole. I mean, and if the rains keep coming and whatever, there are animals living in there.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and wrap this real quick. You guys good? No, you're fine. So, is anybody motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
A second.
Okay. 7:01.
Because that happened to some like codes and everything. That's like, how do you want it? Hey, Lynn, do you have that binder still?
I was embarrassed about it. I almost paid for it myself.
Do you have that binder still, the binder she gave you? Can you bring it back, because I want to start scripts, and then I can just drop them off at Tucson when I go to Tucson.
You're doing what?
Meeting adjourned.
Starting scripts for Halloween, and then I